Hey everyone, welcome to Plants and Politics. So I have an update to share about one of Trump's Capitol terrorists. It's time for an episode of Where Are They Now?
Matthew Bledsoe was arrested.
Patrick Montgomery was in court.
Jonathan Manapa will stay in federal custody.
No, I don't take responsibility at all.
So, proving once again that it takes a large pair of ovaries to do what needs to be done, Judge Tanya Chutkin just handed out the longest sentence so far for a January 6th defendant. Now, I say the longest handed out because there's been some that have been posited, there have been some that have been talked about, but none have actually been sentenced yet. But compared to the story that I just shared with you guys about Daniel Baker, it's not long enough, as you're going to hear. So the defendant in this case is Troy Smocks. I haven't had a chance yet to do his full profile, so I'm going to give you guys some of the details, but look for his video short to come in the future. But here's the deal. Smocks is a 59-year-old Texas resident who was arrested on January 15th. And although Smocks was in D.C. on January 6th, he wasn't arrested or charged for anything that he did at the Capitol. Smocks was arrested for making threats on social media. The FBI says that on the morning of January 6th, in a post on Parler, he first threatened police officers. Smocks wrote in part, quote, "Many of us will return on January 19th, 2021, carrying our weapons. We will come in numbers that no standing army or police agency can match. However, the police are not our enemy," and he wrote "not" in all caps, "unless they choose to be. All who will not stand with the American patriots or who cannot stand with us, then that would be a good time for you to take a few vacation days." Then on January 7th, actually some reports show January 7th, others show that it was the evening of January 6th. The actual indictment, or not the indictment, but the agreement shows that it was the evening of January 6th. So I'm going to go with that. But on that evening or the next day, Smocks posted another message. And in this one, he was encouraging Trump supporters to literally hunt down Trump's enemies. And he admitted that, oh yeah, people went into the Capitol to attack lawmakers. Again, Smocks wrote in part, quote, "Over the next 24 hours, I would say let's get our personal affairs in order, prepare our weapons, and then go hunting. Let's hunt these cowards down like the traitors that each of them are. This includes rhinos, Dems, and tech execs. We now have the green light. Who resist us are enemies of our Constitution and must be treated as such. Today, the cowards ran as we took the Capitol. They have it back now only because we left the building. It wasn't the building that we wanted. It was them." And get this. Okay, so you heard Smocks say that they're cowards, right? So Smocks is calling other people cowards. But apparently, this guy lies online and pretends to be a retired military veteran. He tells people that on social media. He has two accounts on Parler, on the right-wing social network called Parler. One of the usernames he uses is Colonel T. Perez, not even his real name. This guy is, such a keyboard warrior. And the other he uses is Colonel 007. Yeah. But the FBI says, no, Smocks was never in the military. He is not a colonel in any military or law enforcement organization. So that's one. But on top of that, he didn't even go to the Capitol on January 6th. He sat in his hotel room and posted threats online. So he went all the way there, drove all the way there or flew, I can't remember which, from Texas. But he didn't even go to the Capitol. And yet he said, we broke into the Capitol. We took the Capitol. Really? And while he was calling for everyone to head to DC on January 19th with weapons for obviously Biden's inauguration. He had a flight booked to leave the country on January 15th, and his return flight wasn't until January 24th. So this guy wasn't even going to be in the country when he's telling others, prodding others to show up in DC with weapons for the inauguration. Well, we should head to DC with weapons. Many of us will return. We, our, us. Really? You know, my dad used to say, who's we? You got a mouse in your pocket? What a pathetic, cowardly piece of shit. And he's stealing other people's valor. How disgusting. So, and you guys are going to be shocked by this, but Smocks has a history of criminality. I know, we go through this every time, guys, but believe it or not, Trump did not send his best to the Capitol. They were pedophiles, they were thieves, they were women beaters, and some, I assume, are good people. Anyway, as for Smocks, he has 17 previous convictions. 17! And not surprisingly, they include charges of fraud, as well as impersonating the military or police officers. Imagine. Anyway, Smocks was hit because of all this from January 6th and possibly the 7th. He was hit with one charge of making threats to injure another person using interstate commerce, which carries a maximum sentence of up to 5 years in prison and or fines. And on September 29th, he accepted a plea agreement and he pleaded guilty to this felony charge. That was the only thing he was charged with. So he accepted the plea for this one charge. He was recently in court for his sentencing hearing, and he tried to tell Judge Chutkan, who happens to be a Black woman, by the way, that he was being targeted because he's Black. And he falsely stated that he was the only Black person that had been imprisoned for their actions on January 6th. So Judge Chutkan quickly corrected him. She explained to him that no, there are actually 2 other Black defendants who are still in custody due to their violent actions that day. And then Smocks said, oh, my bad. But then he tried to liken himself to civil rights protesters and Martin Luther King. So Chutkan was really pissed off about that. She said, quote, Mr. Smocks now seems to somehow compare himself to Martin Luther King and drape himself in the mantle of racial equality and civil rights. And I, for one, find that senseless. For you to claim you're being singled out and treated unfairly, again, is pretty audacious. I have received no evidence that protesters are being treated differently because of their race or their gender, unlike under the Trump administration, you mean? She said, quote, I have not seen a scintilla of evidence that prosecutors' decisions have been racially motivated. You come here to try to make yourself out as a victim of racism. And again, I find that offensive. Then she went on to verbally smack him around with these, despicable comparisons, saying, quote, people protesting largely peacefully for civil rights of a murdered unarmed man is not the same as an attempt to violently disrupt the operations of Congress. Those two are not the same, and that's a false equivalency. So in the end, due to his lack of remorse, Chutkan sentenced him to 14 months in prison and then 3 years of supervised release afterwards. Once again, a longer sentence than what prosecutors were seeking. This is the only judge to do something like this. And Smocks will receive credit for the 9 months that he's already been in jail up to this point. But Judge Chutkan told him, quote, while I believe and continue to believe that every individual is capable of change and growth, I'm not optimistic in this case. It appears Mr. Smocks is still engaging in deception, and he does not appear to have remorse for his actions. All I hear is what you've suffered. You're being singled out. You're being prosecuted. You're the victim of racism. Not a single word of acknowledgement of the seriousness and enormity of what you did. Again, compared to other judges, what they're giving these people, Chutkan is stepping up. She's doing somewhat the right thing and giving them a heavier sentence and giving them the maximum. In some cases, far more than what the prosecutors are asking. But again, also compared to the anti-terrorist Daniel Baker, who I just talked to you guys about, who didn't threaten anyone in particular, who only warned that we might need to take up arms if people start attacking capitals throughout the United States, Smocks is getting off way, way too easy. Remember, Baker, the guy I was just talking about, was sentenced to almost 4 years in prison for not threatening anyone specifically and not saying, oh, let's go attack people. He was saying we might have to protect capitals, state capitals. Smocks, on the other hand, who specifically called for hunting down Democratic lawmakers, Republicans who are insufficiently loyal to Trump, and tech executives. So he named specific groups of people. He just gets over 1 year. Unbelievable. Unfreaking believable. But here's some good news. Judge Chutkan is going to be presiding over the case to determine if Trump will have to comply with the subpoena that he received to turn over documents to the House of Representatives. So, I mean, overall, we would want Judge Chutkan making that decision versus one of these other people who've just been giving these people a pass and letting them go home. So, somewhat of a silver lining, I guess. Anyway, I'll let you guys know when I hear more. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Please remember, this weekend is the weekend I hang out with the friends of the show, Friends of Plants and Politics. So if you're interested in hanging out with me over Zoom, you can ask me anything you want. I promise to try to answer every single question. I can get to know you better, which is really why I wanted to do this for friends of the show. It is only $4.99 a month. You can cancel it at any time, but I would love to have you guys. So if you haven't signed up for that yet, head down into the description box below. You can just click on the link for Patreon and sign up for that. And like I said, this Saturday is when it happens, the end of the month, the last Saturday of each month. So I'll send out a Zoom link tomorrow so that people who are signed up as a friend of the show can get on. Thanks so much for watching again, guys. Take care. Hope to see you all on Saturday. Talk with you soon.